Good morning, students. You are welcome once again back to where we had left this particular chapter. So, as promised in the previous lecture, I am now going to start with the effect of electric and magnetic field separately on alpha, beta and gamma rays. As you can see the heading, it says effect of electric and magnetic field. So, essentially what it means is, let's have a look first at this particular diagram. I'll explain you the setup and then we will try and see what the effect is. First of all, you can see that there is a box with a small opening over here. You can call this as a slit or a small opening. Okay, this box is a lead box. Why lead? Because lead basically is a stable element, okay, and it has the capacity to not allow the radiations to spread out, go out through it. Okay, so essentially what we are trying to do here in this particular setup is we have kept a small radioactive substance. As you can see over here, this is labeled radioactive substance is kept in the lead box. So obviously, since it is radioactive, we will assume that it will give out radiations. Okay, so alpha, beta, gamma, for the time being, if we assume that all three rays are going to come out, alpha, beta and gamma, where are they going to come out from? Obviously they are going to come out through this opening. Okay, so one by one we will study the effect of this particular electric field. As you can see, now what do we understand by the electric field? Basically, you can understand electric field as a combination of positive and negative charges which are kept on either sides in the form of maybe metallic plates. So as you can see over here, these two are the plates. One has been given a positive charge and the other has been given a negative charge. So from plus to minus there will be an electric field. So what essentially this tells you is that this entire area between the plates is under the influence of the electric field or is under the influence of the charges. Okay, because these plates have been initially given some charge. One has been given positive charge, the other has been given a negative charge. So now the moment suppose an alpha particle comes out, okay, supposing that there is an alpha particle that has come out. Now we know that alpha is positively charged. Okay, so it will be quite simple for us to understand that since alpha is coming out and since alpha is positive, so it is not going to go towards the positive side because like charges repel each other. In fact, it is going to go towards the negative side. So if I complete the diagram over here, this will be the direction in which the alpha particle will go. Okay, so essentially what this setup is telling you is that had the electric field not been there, the alpha would have gone straight. Okay, but since there is a presence of the charges, like charges and unlike charges, therefore alpha being positive, it is going to be deflected towards the negative charge. Similarly, when beta comes out, so let me write this as alpha particle. Similarly, when beta comes out, beta will be reflected towards the positive side because beta is negatively charged. And obviously you must have guessed what will happen to the last or the third category of the ray, gamma ray. Gamma rays are uncharged, so they are not going to be affected. They are going to go straight upwards. Okay, so they are not going to be affected. This is your gamma ray. If you will see in the book, you will find a much better diagram. Gamma goes straight forward because it is highly energetic ray. It is not going to get bent because of the electric field because it is not charged. Okay, so alpha, beta and gamma, all these three rays are acting under the influence of the electric field as shown in this diagram. Now obviously, if you want or if the paper setter wants, he can always make this side as the positive and the other side as negative. In that case, these two rays will actually be going in the reverse direction or the opposite of what I have drawn. Okay, so that is not difficult to understand. Now what will take a lot of time for us to understand is the effect of the magnetic field on these rays. Okay, so now this is the setup that I have drawn for explaining the effect of the magnetic field on all 3 rays, alpha, beta and gamma radiations. Okay. For us to understand this aspect, we need to understand two things over here. I have drawn these two things over here. You see there in your questions, and by the way, these diagrams are asked in your examinations. So there will be some crosses represented like this in the paper or on the board, and there will be some dots represented like this. Okay, so these two crosses and dots, they basically tell you the direction of the magnetic field in that area. Okay, so what I mean to say is that if you see on the board or in the question paper, if you see there are crosses given spaced by some distance, you will immediately come to know that the magnetic field direction is going into the board. Okay, so by having a look at this particular area, I will tell you, I'll be able to say that magnetic field is going into the board like this. Okay, it is like firing or releasing an arrow from a bow. Okay, so when you release the arrow, it actually goes away from you. Okay, so whenever you find crosses, you will immediately understand that magnetic field direction is into the board. Okay, just the opposite happens with the dots. You can imagine an arrow coming towards you. So when you see an arrow coming towards you, you are going to see the pointed object, okay, in front. So these pointed objects or these dots represent the direction of the magnetic field coming out of the board. Okay, so once you remember these two things, it is then that you will be able to understand what we are going to study next. Okay, so now coming back to this particular setup, do you see crosses or do you see dots? So obviously we see dots. So the first thing that you decide in your mind is that the magnetic field is coming out of the board. Okay, so the direction of the magnetic field is coming out of the board. Okay, now that is the first thing that you have to keep in mind. Now supposing there is an alpha particle that is trying to come out. Okay, suppose that there is an alpha particle that is coming out. Okay, now alpha particle is positively charged. Okay, now it can go in this direction, it can go in this direction. What will decide? Because here you see, although alpha is still positively charged particle, just like it was over here, but here there are no charges present in the environment so that it can bend towards the opposite charge. Okay, so there are no charges over here. Remember, this is not an electric field setup, this is a magnetic field setup. Okay, so first thing that we remember is that these dots mean that the magnetic field is coming out of the board. Okay, so in order to determine which way this alpha or beta will bend, we are going to apply the Fleming's left hand rule. LHR means left hand rule. Now this rule basically you would have studied in under electromagnetism, but since that chapter has been removed from the reduced syllabus, I am going to take this up extra so that you understand this particular setup, because without this Fleming's left hand rule we just cannot, obviously we can memorize it, but then that is not the right way to learn. So we must remember the Fleming's left hand rule. Now what is that rule? First of all, as the word suggests, it is going to be your left hand. Okay, so if this is my left hand, you will always have to keep your left hand into play. Okay, now these three are the fingers that you have to use. Okay, let me first tell you, this is the forefinger. Okay, so this finger is your forefinger. You see, these are the first three, the thumb, the forefinger and the middle finger. These are the three fingers of the left hand that you have to use. Okay, the remaining two fingers have to be kept like this. Okay, so now let me tell you, what are these fingers going to denote, or what are these fingers going to tell us? Okay, so when we have a look at this particular roughly drawn diagram that I have drawn, you see I am holding my left hand with these three fingers, the thumb, the forefinger and the middle finger, mutually perpendicular to each other. What it means is, you see, between the thumb and this forefinger the angle is 90. Between the forefinger and the middle finger the angle is 90. between the thumb and the forefinger the angle is 90. So it will obviously take a little bit of practice. You will have to hold your 3 fingers of the left hand like this. Now once you get used to this particular setup, first of all you will arrange your forefinger in the direction of the magnetic field. Okay, so now come back to our setup over here. Now you see, this is the setup. I already told you that since these are dots, that means the magnetic field is coming out of the board. You see, dots mean magnetic field coming out of the board. So I am going to hold my finger like this so that my forefinger is coming out of the board in this particular direction. Why? Because you see over here, according to Fleming's left hand rule, the forefinger denotes the magnetic field direction. Okay, so I am going to hold my forefinger according to the setup. Okay, and the setup says dots. Dots mean magnetic field coming out of the board. So I am going to hold my forefinger like this. Now holding my forefinger in this position, the next thing would be to adjust the middle finger. Okay, the middle finger will denote the current. Okay, now is there any current flowing in this particular setup? No, but please remember, current essentially is nothing but the flow of charges. So if we are assuming an alpha charge coming up, which means a positive charge coming up, then this would become the direction of the current. So I am going to hold my middle finger in the direction of the current. Where is current going? Current is going up. So I am going to, please have a look carefully, I am going to turn my hand like this, so that now my middle finger is pointing in the upward direction. You see, this is your alpha particle going up. Okay, alpha particle is positively charged. So positive charge going up means current is going up. Therefore I have held my middle finger. Why middle finger? Because middle finger shows the direction of the current. Okay, so the middle finger is going to be set up in this particular upward direction. Now while you do this, you must ensure that your forefinger should not be disturbed. Remember, your forefinger showed the magnetic field coming out of the board. So it is still out of the board. The middle finger is going in the upward direction. Once you are able to set these two up properly according to the setup, then automatically you will see that the third finger, which is your thumb, will point in a particular direction. In this case it is pointing to the right direction. Okay, so that means this thumb, as you can see in the diagram, thumb denotes the direction of the force. So this alpha particle will experience a force in the direction of the thumb, which is to this side. Therefore alpha is going to turn like this. Okay, so now I am going to draw this alpha particle. It's going to go like this. Okay, now obviously you don't have to apply the same rule for beta also, because once you establish that alpha is turning in the right direction, it will obviously mean that beta is going to turn in the opposite direction. And for gamma, obviously there won't be any effect, because gamma is uncharged, highly energetic radiations. Okay, so I hope you have understood how to apply the Fleming's left hand rule. There are 3 things to be kept in mind about Fleming's left hand rule. The first and the foremost thing is that it is encouraging you, it is telling you to use the left hand. You cannot use the right hand, you have to use the left hand. You have to use these 3 fingers, thumb, forefinger, middle finger. Then you have to understand what these fingers tell you. Forefinger denotes you the direction of magnetic field, middle finger denotes the direction of current, thumb will denote the direction of force. This is the second thing to remember. The third thing to remember is that you will start adjusting these 3 fingers from the forefinger first. Okay, so first of all you will adjust the forefinger. How will you adjust the forefinger? In which direction? That will be shown in the setup. So supposing that this setup had crosses instead of dots. Okay, supposing that this setup did not have dots, it had crosses. So crosses mean magnetic field going into the board. So in that case you would hold your hand, left hand like this, because this time the forefinger has to go into the board. Okay, once you do that, That is the first thing. Then the second thing that you have to adjust is the middle finger. See, middle finger shows you the current direction. Where is alpha going? Where is positive charge going? It is going upward. So you are going to just twist your hand like this. Okay. Now the middle finger is showing upward. So this time you see the thumb will show to the left hand direction. Therefore alpha is going to bend to the left side direction. Remember this, I am telling you when the crosses will be there. Okay. For the dots I have already shown you the direction. Okay. So in comparison to the electric field effect, the magnetic field effect is a little more complex to understand, because first of all you have to understand what the crosses and the dots mean. Secondly, you have to remember the Fleming's left hand rule. You have to apply the rule properly, only then will you be able to draw them properly. Okay, so this is as far as the effect of electric and magnetic field was concerned. Now let us quickly move on to some of the uses of radioactivity, which is the usefulness, as we may call it, because we all know that there are many harmful uses of radioactivity. Harmful, we can't say uses, but harmful effects of radioactivity. They are such radioactive elements are used in the preparation of atomic bombs, hydrogen bombs, and so on and so forth. And then obviously they cause a lot of skin damage, they cause cancer, and then there are many other harmful effects, both in the temporary way also and in a permanent way also. Temporarily, if you get a small bit of radiation, you may have some temporary drawbacks or temporary effects on your body. For example, the destruction of the skin, or maybe the loss of hair, etc. But in the long term and strong radiations, obviously you can actually die also because of all this, and you can develop diseases like cancer and so on and so forth. Okay, so what is important for us to understand is the usefulness. Where can we use it constructively? Okay, so the three fields that are there is, one is obviously the medical field, then scientific uses or the scientific field, and then the industrial uses. If you will read in the book, you will find there are many other examples also given, but I have taken for the purpose of studying, I have taken one example each in these fields. In the medical field, you can see cobalt 60. Cobalt is also one of the elements. Cobalt 60 is used in the treatment of cancer, in the killing of the cancer cells also. Okay, so this is a constructive use in the medical field. Then in the scientific use, you can have carbon 14, which is used for carbon dating, that is determining the age of the age-old fossil fuels and all those things. Okay, then comes the industrial use. Industrial use is obviously for industrial purpose. Okay, now what can be the industrial purpose of such radioactive elements or isotopes? Obviously in nuclear reactors, you study them in geography, in physics, in many other subjects. Nuclear reactors, they use radioisotopes as the fuel. Okay, so they burn that fuel, not exactly burn, but they use the radiation of coming out of those radioactive isotopes, and then those radiations are used to generate heat, and then that is transformed into power. Okay, so that is basically the generation of electricity using radioactivity. Okay, so which isotopes are used? The U-235 is one such example of a radioisotope which is used in the nuclear reactors for constructive purposes, for the generation of electricity. So similarly, you have many others also. You can have a look, read through the book, you will find those also. Now we are going to move towards one complex kind of a problem, although that problem may not always come. It generally does not come in your examination, but since we have studied the effect of alpha, beta and gamma coming out of a nucleus, we are going to study this particular question also. Okay, so here is your question. Let us quickly read it out first. 92U238. 92 is the atomic number, U means uranium, 238 is the atomic mass or the mass number. Decays means eventually gives out radiation and gets transformed. Okay, decays to give 82 PB is lead, 206 eventually. Okay, so eventually means in the end this entire process keeps on taking place. What process? 92U238 keeps on giving radioactive emission radiations, and after some time eventually it turns into a relatively stable element, which is lead, with an atomic number and a mass number given like this. We have to find how many alpha and beta particles does it emit in this particular process. Okay, so this is the parent nucleus, this is going to be the daughter nucleus. So let us write that down. 92U238. Suppose it gives you X number of alpha particles and Y number of beta particles it gives out. So I am going to write minus X alpha, and minus basically means giving out. Okay, so eventually it becomes 82 lead 206. Okay, this is the reaction that is taking place. This is the parent nucleus and this is the daughter nucleus. Okay, we have to find X and Y. Okay, now before beginning this question, let me remind you, or let me recall, I hope you all have studied that one alpha particle means 2He4 and one beta particle means minus 1E0. Okay, let us remember this. Okay, so whenever one alpha particle comes out of a nucleus, by what number does the atomic number reduce? The atomic number reduces by 2, the mass number reduces by 4. We have already studied this. Remember, if there was a nucleus X having Z as the atomic number and A as the mass number, after an emission of alpha particle, the atomic number reduced by 2 and the mass number reduced by 4. So we have to remember this. Okay, similarly for beta particles, suppose this was the element, this was the nucleus and one beta particle came out. So as a result of beta coming out, the atomic number used to increase by 1 and the mass number remained same, because this is a 0 over here. Okay, so we have to keep this particular thing in our minds for solving this question. So now let us see. Let us have a look at atomic numbers first. 92 was the initial atomic number. So minus what? Let us have a look at alpha particles. If one alpha comes out, the atomic number reduces by 2. So if X number of alpha particles come out, there will be a reduction of 2x. Let me explain it once again. If the atomic number was Z initially, one alpha particle came out, so there was a reduction of 2 in the atomic number. So 1 alpha means reduction of 2 in the atomic number. So X number of alpha particles means reduction of 2x. Okay, now how many beta came out? Y beta came out. Okay, one beta, if one beta comes out, atomic number increases by 1. So if Y beta will come out, the atomic number will increase by Y. Okay, by 1 beta means increase of 1 atomic number. So Y number of beta means Y increase of Y. Okay, so essentially this is the change that is taking place, and it is going to give you in the end 82. Okay, so this equation, if you see, this is going to get reduced to this equal to this 92 can go to the other side, it will become minus 10. Okay, so this we can call as equation number 1. Similarly, we are going to get another equation, because you see there are 2 variables, 2 unknowns, so we need 2 equations. The other equation we can get by comparing the mass numbers. Okay, so initially the mass number was 238 minus. Now, if one alpha particle goes out, what is the reduction in the atomic mass? 4. 1 alpha means reduction of 4. Therefore, X alpha means reduction of 4x. Okay. Similarly, when one beta goes out, you see one beta going out, no effect on atomic mass. So y beta will also have no effect. So essentially we don't have to do anything over here. Equal to 206. So that means 4x can go to that side. You will have 4x equal to 238 minus 206. This becomes 32 equal to 4x. Therefore x becomes 4 8s are 32. What was x? X was the number of alpha particles coming out. So this value tells you that there are 8 alpha particles that are going to be emitted. Now once you find the value of x, you can easily put it over here. So minus 2 into 8 plus y is going to give you minus 10. Minus 16 plus y is minus 10. Therefore y becomes minus 10, and this minus 16 goes to the other side, it becomes plus 16. Therefore y value is going to become 6. Okay, so there are 6 beta particles and there are 8 alpha particles that are going to come out, and then uranium 238 will turn into lead 206. Okay, so this is one question. The reason why I took this question is because this question involves a particular situation in which both alpha and beta are coming out from the same nucleus, although that is not practically possible, but for the sake of the question we have dealt with this. Okay, now let us move on very quickly to the last portion of this particular chapter, which is going to be some of the ways in which to deal with radioactivity, how safely, or what are the safety measures that we can that we have to apply while dealing with a radioactive substance, or maybe in the vicinity of a radioactive substance, and so on and so forth. Okay, so now before going on to those safety precautions, let us quickly have a look at these 3 reactions. Now there are many such reactions given in your exercises at the end of this particular chapter. I would want you to go through them. They are very easy, provided you have understood the concept of this alpha, beta and gamma. So in these reactions, you see the question is identify X, this X. Okay, so these are 3 separate reactions. You have to identify, this being the parent nucleus, this side is all parent nuclei, these are the daughter nuclei in the separate reactions. Okay, so you see 92A238 is giving you 90B234 plus the emission of something which is known as X, which has been called X. So we have to identify this X. Very easy. You see what has happened to the atomic number. It was 92, it reduced by 2. Okay, 92 became 90. That means a reduction of 2. Reduction of 2 happens in case of alpha emission. Okay, you can confirm the same by using a look by having a look at the atomic masses. 238 became 234. That means a reduction of 4. So atomic number has reduced by 2, atomic mass has reduced by 4. Therefore this has to be an alpha particle. Similarly, have a look over here. Here 11Na23 is giving out a beta particle, or a beta stream of beta particles. Only one beta has come out. Therefore whenever beta comes out, there is an increase in the atomic number by 1. So 11 plus 1 will make it 12, and there is no effect on the atomic mass. So that means the element X becomes 12x23. Can somebody tell me what is this X going to be? So this X is going to be what? Magnesium. How do you find that out? Have a look at this. This is the atomic number. So X becomes magnesium. Obviously this magnesium is not 12Mg24 magnesium. This is 12Mg23 magnesium, which is also an isotope of magnesium. Okay. Similarly, coming down to the last one, we have phosphorus 7p15 giving 8r15. So what has happened? Has the atomic mass changed? No, atomic mass has not changed. Atomic number has increased by 1. That means this has to be a beta particle that is coming out. Okay, so such questions you will be expected to solve if they come in the paper. Now let us move to the safety precautions. Now I am going to just read from the book. You all have the book, you can read yourself also. There are a few important things that have to be kept in mind. Suppose you are an employee or a person working in a nuclear power plant or near a reactor. There are certain safety measures or precautions that you have to obviously take. There are particular uniforms that are given for entering in the vicinity of any radioactive material or any radioactive substance. So you have to wear those special lead lined aprons. So these are basically dresses made up of lead material in them. Okay, why lead? Because I have just now explained that earlier also. Lead basically does not allow the radiations to pass through it. Okay, it absorbs most of the radiation. Okay, so therefore our skin, our body is not affected. Then obviously we should use long lead tongs if we are going to have to deal with such radioactive elements. Then there are some safety precautions that are given for the disposal of the nuclear waste. Once the radioactive substance is of no longer any use in the industry, then it has to be disposed of. Okay, it has to be dumped in a proper location. So you cannot just go and dump it in the garbage bin or the dust bin. Okay, you cannot just go into a forest and dump it anywhere in a secluded spot. No. So what has to be done is that this nuclear waste has to be filled in, kept in very thick caskets, okay, or big boxes which have very thick walls, and then they are to be dumped or buried in specially dug very deep underground stores. Okay, so now this process of digging and all these things, it is not it cannot be done by an individual. It has to be done at the industry level, at the government level. Okay, so all these safety precautions have to be. These are obviously some of the precautions that I have discussed. You can always go through the detail in the book. Now before we finish off this particular chapter, this was the last lecture. I hope you must have found it interesting. What I need to tell you right now is that the B section of this particular chapter, which involves the details about nuclear fission and fusion, that is not in your course now. It has been removed entirely from your course, so that portion will not have to be studied. Okay, so till this portion I hope you have all understood. In the next lecture we will start with current and electricity, and from that chapter we will also have to do a couple of practicals also. Okay, so children, have a good day.